Good evening, everybody. We are back. What a busy day today. We are back for some evening coverage of President Biden's Oval Office address to the nation, where he is going to talk about why he decided to not run in the election. He's going to say more about that. He's going to lay out, he says, how did he describe it? The exact words he used were, why should I use my words when I can tell you his words? He said that he will address the nation from the Oval Office on what lies ahead and how he will finish the job for the American people. That's what he said. So that's what he's going to talk about. So we're going to bring you live coverage. We will have that address at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Look, I'll show you. I think I'll show you right here. No, that's not what I want to show you. Let's try this. Let's try this again. Let me try to show it to you again. Here we go. Can you see that? He posted this yesterday. He said, tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, I will address the nation from the Oval Office on what lies ahead and how I will finish the job for the American people. In the White House press briefing today, they also said he's going to talk about reasons why he decided to not run. So that's coming up in 55 minutes. Our third stream of the day. Wow. So I want to get some of your comments on this. I'm going to read some. If you have any predictions about what he might say, give me a shout on X at Lookner. No, it's 8 Eastern. You thought it was 7? Well, you thought wrong because he said it was 8 Eastern. I mean, there you go. Whatever time you thought it was, I mean, you can see he literally posted 8 p.m. Eastern. Hey, thanks to Jarrett Scott. I really appreciate that, Jarrett. Thanks for all your support of the channel. So nice of you. And thanks to our new members, Tech Tips NL and Jesse Van Mullum. And also I want to say thanks to our moderators who are awesome and who have been here all day. We've been here since this morning. BZ is here right now. Thanks so much, BZ. And Sabrina, thank you. Linda Belk and Larry moderate for us on X. Over there on Twitch, Bastion Girl, Good Luck Duck, I Got That Fire, McBritches, Sarah, Papa Bear, and Surly Dev. Thank you. And we have on Facebook, one moment, please, one moment. Charlotte Webb is over there on Facebook moderating. Thank you. And Christina Neal as well. Thank you so much. And thank you, David Spivak. Thank you, David. I appreciate that. Very nice of you. And thanks to our member A to Z. We don't usually do 3 streams in a day. And this is like 3 streams back to back. The first 2 were literally back to back. So I'll do my best to keep my energy up. It's been a full news day. I did see one report about what he was going to say, which I'll tell you. Sung Min Kim, who is with AP, she posted that Biden will tell the nation, quote, the defense of democracy is more important than any title, unquote, as he explains dropping 2024 bid. That's the only report I've seen. Oh, thanks to Tara Owning and the Lady Boss 365 and Gordon Gott, by the way. I appreciate that. Thank you. Stacy's mom says he'll read a script. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I would not be surprised if he's reading off of prompter and that this is written in advance. I don't know for sure, though, so we'll have to see. It will be from the Oval Office. I'm assuming it'll start on time. And I'll see if I can get you any other reporting about what he's going to say. There might be some stuff that comes out before then. Yeah, I'm going to check some other sources and see if anyone's reporting anything on it. No, I have not heard any reports whatsoever that he is planning on leaving office sooner. I've not seen any report on that. I don't even know how long it'll be. I have no idea how long it'll be. I could see it being 4 minutes long or a bunch longer. No, I'm not going to do a poll about whether he's stepping down from the presidency because there's no reporting of that at all. None. I can't even imagine that he would just announce it. Why would he announce it as a surprise? He's just going to do it as a big surprise to everybody, including his own press team, who did a press briefing talking about what he's commenting about. He's going to do it even though yesterday he said that he said what he was going to do yesterday. He literally posted. I mean, I might as well do a poll about whether he'll fly through the ceiling. Yeah, he said, I will address the nation on what lies ahead and how I will finish the job for the American people. He just said that yesterday. So he's just going to change his mind today? So there is a certain base level of possibility. I mean, it's metaphysically possible. It's not physically impossible for him to say it. In theory, he could say it. But there's got to be a certain basic level of possibility for me to ask a poll about something. Why do it from the Oval Office? Don't you think it's important enough? He has not addressed the public about his decision to not run for president. Doesn't that qualify as important enough for the Oval Office? So we're not doing that poll. No, I don't think he'll take questions because he's in the Oval Office. He normally wouldn't take questions in the Oval Office. Oh, quick thank you to Kristen Gates. Hey, Kristen, that's so nice of you. Thank you, Kristen Gates. And thank you, Nico Christian Wallenberg. Did Biden meet Netanyahu or Harris? Biden and Harris are separately meeting Netanyahu tomorrow, and then Trump is meeting with Netanyahu on Friday. That's the schedule of that. Thanks so much, Nico. And Robin, thanks, Robin, for your support. And Fiery Patriot. Bet he reverses the decision in his address? No, that's not going to happen either, Fiery Patriot. What time is he talking? You know what? At a certain point, I can only help you so much. If you can't be helped, then there's a certain point at which I cannot do any more to help you. As a viewer, you're asked to bring certain effort to the broadcast. You got to be responsible for something. Southern and Sad says, do you ignore some people who send comments? No, I don't. I mean, there's way too many comments for me to read all of them. So I have to just do my best to read some of them. Let's see here. But I'm going to do a quick check and see if I see anything else. If I see any other reporting, I mean, the White House might put out some kind of excerpts from his speech. So if they do that, I'll certainly let you know. But it's in 47 minutes. There's a chance that I will have, well, I don't think we're going to have that. I don't think we'll get a live shot of the Oval Office before he speaks. Because it's not like a press conference where you have a live shot of a podium. I don't think we're going to see a live shot of the table before he speaks. All right. Let me know your thoughts. I'm interested in knowing what you think about what he's going to say. Is he going to put forth any substantive policy proposals? Like, there were stories floating around claiming he might propose some Supreme Court reform, although he wouldn't be able to pass it. You'd have to have Congress pass it. So nothing he can do by himself. But like, will he say anything? Will he propose that he's going to try to do something the last few months in office? I mean, he doesn't have control of Congress, so there's only so much he can do. Thanks, A to Z. Yeah, we actually covered the White House press conference. We were on the air for it at the end of the stream earlier today. What were my thoughts? I don't know. I mean, I don't remember anything in the White House press conference being anything where I was like, wow. But at the same time, we'd already been on the air for 6 hours. So, but I don't, in the press conference, there were a lot of questions about why did Biden drop out? And basically the response by the press secretary was like, wait to see till tonight. Wait till tonight. He's going to talk about it tonight. So she kept saying he'll talk about it tonight, which tells me he's going to talk about it tonight. So I'm interested in seeing what tonight his discussion is of that. Even when he announced that he wasn't going to run, he did say he would talk to the nation later this week. What was the exact language he used? He said, and thank you again, A to Z. I really appreciate that. He had said when he said he wasn't running. Hang on a second here. He said, I will speak to the nation later this week in more detail about my decision. See the bottom line there? I will speak to the nation later this week in more detail about my decision. So I am certainly expecting that he will talk more about his decision. But that was certainly something said in the press briefing a bunch. Joe says maybe confessed regarding his health, some revelation that just came up. I don't believe that's going to be the case because, I mean, if you watch the press conference, the press secretary repeatedly said this is not a health issue. And there's been no reporting it was a health issue. So I would be surprised if that's the case. Daredevil says, don't think so easy either. Hey, thanks so much, Brian T. That's very nice of you, Brian T. Thank you. Much appreciated. Yeah, but there's who knows how long he'll speak and how much into detail. I could imagine him just giving a little bit of detail about his decision, or he could talk about it at length. I mean, I really don't know how long an address is going to be. I don't know what kind of detail he's going to go into about his decision-making process. I don't know how much he's going to talk about the vice president, Kamala Harris. I don't know, if he's going to bring up any new policy proposals. As I mentioned before, Sungmin Kim of AP claims that he is going to tell the nation that the defense of democracy is more important than any title. I mean, this is going to be the first time he's spoken to the public with the knowledge he's not running. That he's never done before. Brenda thinks he will clarify his reason to leave. He always said he wouldn't drop out unless he felt he had to for the sake of the bigger picture. Will it be pre-recorded? I haven't heard that it'll be. I guess in theory it could be, but he said I haven't heard that it'll be. That's the best I can tell you. Doesn't mean it won't be, but given that I haven't heard anything that's going to be pre-recorded, I would assume it'll be live. Daniel Pollard says, "Are you okay? You seem a little grumpy." Am I grumpy? I don't know about that. I would take issue with that characterization of myself. Daniel Pollard also says, "I'm sure this will be a short speech. Explain he is not rerunning, endorse Harris, and bash Trump." That's what Daniel predicts. Thank you, Daniel, for your prediction. Daniel predicts a short speech with those three elements. Yes, Drop Barracuda, he did have COVID, but his doctor actually posted, I think yesterday, that his symptoms had completely resolved. Thank you, Drop Barracuda, by the way. Yeah, I should mention that. Here, look, this is from yesterday. This is from his doctor. The president's symptoms have resolved. Over the course of his COVID infection, he never manifested a fever, and his vital signs remain normal, to include pulse oximetry. His lungs remain clear. Binax testing is negative. He continues to perform all of his presidential duties. So his symptoms are gone. "40 minutes. Guys, just 40 minutes. Jen writes in and says, "How can Biden decide not to be the nominee and just pass it to Harris?" That's not what happened. That's not what happened at all. What prevents any president from doing that? Well, he didn't do it. So what Biden did is he said it's up to him whether he wants to run. And he said, "I don't want to run." And then he said he endorsed Harris. All that means is that he thinks she'd be the best person. That's it. That's all he did. He said, "I support her," basically. It's up to, and it's still up to, the delegates the delegates in the Democratic National Committee delegates who voted the convention. They have to vote on a nominee. But more than half of them have now said they're going to vote for Harris. So unless some crazy thing changes, she will get the nomination. But he didn't hand it off to anyone. All he said was, "I endorse this person. I think they'd be good." That's all he did. But if none of the delegates wanted to vote for her, then she wouldn't be the nominee. That's what happened. But it's not up to him. It's up to the delegates. I mean, if he had decided to not run before the primaries were carried out, then it would be up to the direct voters and the voters directly voting in the primary. But at this point, the primaries already happened. Joe McD says, "Why isn't there another player on the Democrat side?" So, I mean, what you have to ask yourself is, why wouldn't somebody on the Democrat side come out and say, "I'm running"? I'm guessing if you asked yourself that question, you can probably come up with some good answers. Like, well, if somebody said they were running, and it seems like Harris already has a lot of support, and so you might be in a case where you say you're running, you have very little chance of getting the nomination, and the rest of the party hates you for bringing divisiveness to the party. So try to think about it in terms of I mean, the way I would think about it is think about costs and benefits to somebody if they said they were going to run. Now, if there were one person who were definitely running against her and it was competitive, I'm guessing you would have had a bunch of people. But hang on a second here. But that's how you should think about it. Try to think like, what would the costs and benefits be to the person? But it seems like for the first person who said they wanted to run against her, there'd be a lot of costs and not necessarily a lot of benefits. That's the way I think about it. I mean, maybe there's other factors there. Somebody else, one of our viewers, suggested that somebody wouldn't want to run now if they thought they'd have a better shot in 2028. So who knows how that is. Also, if you're somebody who wants to be VP, maybe you don't want to like stand up and say you're going to run against her. Drop Barracuda says, in all truth, he never had to drop out. The Democratic Party is set up to overrule the voters' choice of superdelegates. That's utterly false. That's false that they're set up that way. Because superdelegates cannot vote in the first round of voting. That changed, I want to say like maybe 2018, I'm not sure. But the way it is now is there's roughly 3,900 delegates who vote in the first round of voting. And none of those are superdelegates. So the delegates who vote in the first round of voting at the convention are all delegates who are pledged to vote for someone because of the state primaries or caucuses. So there's no superdelegate voting in the first round. Now, the superdelegates are around 700 delegates who from the second round on, they can then vote, and they're not pledged to vote for anyone. But the only way the superdelegates would get a chance to vote is if no one had a majority of delegates in the first round. So I would disagree with the claim that the Democratic Party is set up to overrule the voters' choice of superdelegates. Now, you might say, you might have an issue with superdelegates voting at all. You might say, well, why should there be any superdelegates? Why not, if there's no majority in the first round, just have the 3,900 keep voting? I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying if that's what you're saying. But I would take issue with given that the superdelegates literally can't vote in the first round, I would dispute the claim that the Democratic Party is set up to overrule the voters' choice of superdelegates. Anyways, you might have an issue. Maybe your issue is more that there are superdelegates who can vote in later rounds. Thank you, Drop Barracuda. I appreciate your support. I just want to clarify. Now, in theory, delegates could, in theory, although they're really not supposed to. Technically, delegates can vote for someone who they weren't pledged to, because who didn't win these delegates in the primaries. But like it's something like they're allowed to vote their conscience, but they're really really supposed to vote for who they're pledged to, who won the delegates in the primary. I mean, you could argue what vote your conscience means, but say it turned out that the person, I don't even want to use an example. Say it turned out that the person who won the most delegates tried to then like right before the convention tried to poison the nation's water supply. Well, then you might say as a delegate, my conscience says I shouldn't vote for that person, even though I'm pledged to them. So that's a more extreme case. I don't know that this case, if somebody thought, oh, I will say this. It's an interesting question whether whether any delegates who were Biden delegates were thinking, I saw this debate. I didn't know that was his condition. It's way worse than I thought. I think voting my conscience means voting for somebody else at the convention. I don't know if and how many delegates might have been thinking that, but we were not going to find out now because Biden isn't running at the convention. Anyways, yes, thank you, Drop Barracuda. Barracuda says I was unaware of the change. Yeah, so the change with the superdelegates, if you look it up. We looked this up like last week. Wikipedia said that change happened. I have to find it. Yes. In 2018, right here. So if you look up superdelegates on Wikipedia, if you go down here, you can see here on 2018, it says the DNC decided to prevent superdelegates from voting on the first ballot. Thank you, Drop Barracuda. But I'm glad you brought it up. Thank you also, JRT. JRT thinks Joe will be announcing a new Pokemon. That's what JRT believes. Ugh. You know what's really old to me? What's really old? What's getting really old to me is I look at Wikipedia. By the way, Wikipedia, I mean, again, footnotes. Pretty much anything in one of these articles you can look up and see where they got it from. But inevitably, when I use Wikipedia, at least one person in this chat starts trashing Wikipedia. In no kind of way that has a good argument behind it. I mean, come on, really. It's just ridiculous. It's getting so old. Apple Fritter says, I really like Wikipedia. I didn't know it was looked down upon. I don't think it's generally looked down upon. I think there's a certain segment of our chat that looks down upon it. Oh, thank you so much, Sean TV. Hey, Sean, that's really generous of you. Sean says, make your opinion matter and vote in November. I agree. Everybody should vote. If you can vote, if you qualify to vote, if you're legally allowed to vote, you should vote. Go vote. Thank you, Sean. That's very nice of you. Thank you. All right. Let us... I want to thank our moderators again for being here. We have 30 minutes. 30 minutes until this. We're gonna show the address live, and then we will take your comments about the address. Right now, I'm kind of like taking your predictions. What do you think's going to happen? Thanks to BZ over there moderating on YouTube. Linda Belk and Larry moderate for us on X. Over on Twitch, Bash and Girl, Good Luck Duck, Hearsay, McBritches, Sarah, Papa Bear, Surly Dev. Charlotte Webb, Margaret Riley, Christina Neal. All of our other moderators, thank you. You know, interesting comment from Mike Ox Fury in Twitch. He says, I think with the pressure off, he'll do better. That's an interesting comment from Mike. Do you think that Biden will seem more relaxed now that he's not running? You could actually wonder about this for the next several months. Will he seem different? That's an interesting question. I don't know. Good question. Good food for thought. Jen says, what about the voters who chose him during the primary? What was the point? What was the point? Well, he was running then. He was running. So people wanted to vote in the primary, and it was him, and there really wasn't any other competitive candidate. The point was to choose a nominee, but then he chose not to run. So now you might, but look, a lot of Democrats think that there should have been a more competitive primary. I mean, the primary was never really in doubt. So there are a lot of Democrats who would have preferred, and this was known before the primary, that a lot of Democrats wanted some sort of competitive primary. From everything I've read, the party, people at the top of the party did not want there to be a competitive primary. But however it worked out, there was not a competitive primary. Craig Talbert says, no respect for people who criticize Wikipedia without editing Wikipedia. I've been a Wikipedia editor for 17 years. Hey, thanks, Craig, and thanks for doing that. Thanks, Andrew Schlegel, for your support, too. I appreciate that, Andrew. So let me know what you guys think, if you have any predictions or any thoughts about what Biden's going to say. At Lookner on X. And thank you also, Leon Yoder. Leon says, if a voter donated the max to Biden, can they now donate the max to Kamala too, since they didn't donate to Kamala the first time? So, Leon, it's a good question. I believe that the campaign organization, the Biden campaign organization, just changed its name to the Harris. So I think it might be the same organization. I think. I'm not sure. Put it this way. There was no separate Harris for President organization. It's not like you could have donated to the Harris for the Biden for president now and then. So it's a good question, but my guess is that it's the same organization because they did not start a new organization to be the Harris for president. It was a name change from Biden. Also, I think her name might have been on it anyway. So what Leon's asking is, could you like skirt campaign finance rules by donating to Biden and then donating to Harris? Which is a good question. And it's a very good question again, but just I don't know if it's relevant, but I do know that the Biden campaign, I think it was the day he said he wasn't running, they applied to change their name. So I don't know for sure, though. It's an interesting question. I wonder if, I don't know. I don't have the answer handy. So I don't want to spend a lot of time looking into it, but it's an interesting question. Let's see here. Big Chief Rick says some people donated to Biden that don't support Harris. Well, I don't think they can get their donations back now. I don't know if you could request your donation back, but that money, I believe, just gets transferred over because her name was on the campaign. I'll look that up too, but I believe that was not a big issue, or it's not going to be a big issue. So the Trump campaign did file a complaint arguing that money from Biden's election bid cannot be transferred to Harris. That I'm reading a CNN story from yesterday, but it talks about how one Republican election lawyer claims that Harris needs to be nominated before money could be shifted. But it says other campaign finance experts say since the campaign committee was registered for both her and him, she can access the money. I read a bunch of stuff about this before Biden pulled out. And generally speaking, the takes of the experts interviewed in various articles was it was not going to be a problem for her to get the access to the money. And I believe I read one saying because her name was on the organization along with him. But I'm not pretending to be a campaign finance expert. But I haven't heard any reliable reporting suggesting it's going to be a big issue. Anyways, but when I mentioned the refund, all I was saying is like, I guess if you gave money to Biden and you didn't want it to go to Harris, you could always write to them and say, will you refund my money? I mean, you could write to them and see. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if you don't hear back. given how busy they are. It's probably not high on their priority list, but I don't know. Maybe they would. Let's see here. Hey, a quick thanks to Infernal Machine for the gift memberships. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you also Habanero, our viewer, our member, and Leon Yoder for your support, and Abdul Kareem Saleh. Thanks for the gift membership. Shorty says, since Harris was on the name was on it before, it's the same now. Thanks, Shorty6890, and thank you also to Nico Christian Wallenberg. It's very nice of you. Thanks, Christian. Thanks, Nico, for your note as well. 21 minutes, guys. We're getting really close. 21 minutes. If you have predictions for what's going to happen, you only have about 20 minutes to make your predictions. Oh, you know what we should do? Just to do it. It's not totally on topic, but I do want to check in with the site Polymarket. It's a betting site. They don't endorse. It's just not. They don't sponsor the channel. I'm not endorsing them. All I'm telling you is it's interesting to look at this because on their site at Polymarket, like. I believe generally this is how it works when you have like a casino or a gambling site where you can bet on real life events. Those odds fluctuate depending on how much money is coming in on each side. So if more money comes in on one possibility, then the odds will go down. See, you'll get worse odds. You'll make less money betting on it if a lot of people before you have put a lot of money on it. And if somebody is not getting, if one possibility is not getting a lot of money bet on it, then those odds will go up. It'll pay out more. So the odds adjust depending on what people are betting on. So at Polymarket, they have one of the things they have is who will be the VP nominee. Here it is right here. So. And it's very interesting because when we were looking at this a couple days ago, I believe Josh Shapiro was the favorite. Mark Kelly was not that high. Now, Mark Kelly, who's a senator from Arizona, is currently the favorite on Polymarket. I certainly have heard a bunch in the media where people suggest he is a leading contender. So I think there was a story out. I might have reposted it saying that. Did I post this? Did one of the news networks report that Kelly and Shapiro were the most likely choices? I think so. Let me see if I can find it here. But I might be misremembering. I thought I reposted something. I can't find it right now. Anyways, I'm not going to really worry about it for the moment. Oh, yeah. So... Selena Wong with ABC News had posted yesterday that a senior administration official tells Martha Raddatz that Josh Shapiro and Mark Kelly are the leading VP candidates. Now, I don't know if that's true, but I'm not surprised given the media coverage that those two are the top two. Not top two just in terms of the betting site Polymarket, who has the best chance according to the betting site. But that's based on how much people are betting. It's interesting. Other man is a topic where you can bet on any other man to get it. Maple Tinkerer says Kelly is a former astronaut, Navy captain, and senator. He's crazy ambitious. That's what our viewer Maple Kelly thinks. Deborah Kish says, I think Harris will choose Buttigieg for her vice president. Clark Townsend thinks Shapiro would be a better choice than Kelly. There is an other woman thing right here. Mark Snyder says, Tim Waltz or Mayor Pete. Sean TV says, I would like to see an all-female ticket. It's I think the general consensus on that is it would be quite interesting to see, but it's risky. That's the sense I get, is that it would probably be seen as too risky. That's why I'm guessing that the odds are so low, that so little money is coming in on it, on that possibility. You never know. You never know. You never know. Anyways, I appreciate Polymarket letting me show their site off. And again, they're not paying for that, and I don't endorse it. I think it's neat to be able to look at those betting odds. So it was a little off topic, but I figured we should talk about it. It's not totally off topic, because tonight, President Biden's, one of the big things he's going to talk about tonight is why he decided to drop out of the race. So given that he has just dropped out of the race recently, that who's going to be VP, her VP pick is a big topic. So I thought we would discuss that for a second. Thank you to Long Range Precision Shooting and Drop Paracuda. Long Range Precision Shooting also thinks there's a possibility he might resign. I just want to say this again. I cannot imagine a world in which Joe Biden resigns as a surprise, where he has said what he's going to talk about tonight. He said it already. It's not about resigning. And the White House press briefing, the press secretary talked about it tonight. Talked about what he's going to talk about. And it just, the idea that that's how it would get done as like a big surprise, it would just seem really destabilizing. I mean, he could decide to resign. I don't think it's a like totally off the scale crazy idea that at some point he would decide to resign before the end of his presidency. I don't think it's going to happen. But the idea that you do it where your way of doing it would be, I'm going to schedule this thing in advance and say I'm going to talk about one thing, then I'm going to just spring it on the world. And after making my staff go out there and say I'm doing it another way, it just doesn't feel right to me. And if that's how he did do it, I'd be like, that's really weird. That's really weird. That's how he did it. Let's see here. Ashley says, what a bombshell. I doubt he would do that. Again, not to say... It's not crazy to think that at some point he would. I mean, it's up to him. I don't think he's going to, but just doing it in that way would just seem like really like destabilizing and like unnecessarily just kind of out of nowhere. Ty M. Daly thinks he would have resigned last weekend if he is stepping down. Susie Irish says, only 6 months left? No, he's staying. You know what poll question I'm going to ask? Will the speech be longer than 5 minutes? Should I say 5 minutes? Is it what is like the over under? Like is 5 minutes too short? Should I poll like say no, 20 minutes is much too long. That's 3? 7 minutes. Someone said 7 minutes. Okay, that's good. Will the speech be longer than 7 minutes? That's what we're going to ask. 7 minutes. All right, here's the poll is coming up. Will the speech be longer than 7 minutes? Let's see what you guys think. All right, hang on a moment here. Hang on a moment here. Hang on a moment here. Oh, look, there it is. I got to get it up here. There it is. Biden addresses the nation. We will begin shortly. Let me put up the poll result. I think that was a good choice, because it looks like people are kind of evenly divided. Not exactly even, but close. So on YouTube, we got 43% say yes and 57% say no. And then on Twitch, yeah, I think this was a good amount of time. Look at that on Twitch, 49 and 51. Maybe a bit of an edge for no, but not really. Pretty close on both platforms. All right, hang on a moment here. I'm not positive it'll start on time. By the way, I think it will. All right, what I'm going to do real quick here, I'm going to let you vote for a second. I just need about 45 seconds here. I'm going to disappear for about 1 minute and come right back and take some of your final predictions for what Biden will say in about 10 minutes. So give me 1 minute. I'm going to disappear for 1 minute, come right back. You know, I realized all right, I'm going to get rid of the poll first of all. Thank you for voting. 59% on YouTube said no, not longer than 7 minutes. 41% said yes. I don't know what I'd pick. It's a tough one. I got to just make sure I'm ready to show this thing. Give me a second. Let me get set up here. Let me just get set up. I got to get set up. Let's see. Let me do this real quick. So that's going to go right there. Put this over here. Oops. Hang on. I'm just setting everything up here. Bear with me. Please bear with me while I get this set up. Oh, is this going to work? This might work. Let me get rid of that. Here we go. I'm going to put it on the screen right now. I'm putting it on the screen. There, we will begin shortly. There it is. This up here, put this here and here, put that up there. There we go. Live the White House. And then the last thing I want to do is put this here. So there's the feed right there. I'm leaving it up there. As soon as he starts speaking, he'll just appear there. Manic Miner thinks it's going to be 45 minutes late. The last time he spoke from the Oval Office was that was like a week ago. It was like the day after. Wasn't it like the day after the assassination attempt? But that started right on time. Hey, thanks me for your support. I think we're done with the polls for now. No, maybe we'll do a poll after. But for right now, I think given that there's 6 minutes left, I think we're going to hold off any more polls. Hey, thanks Marshmallow for your support. Susie Irish thinks it'll go 20 to 30 minutes. Dodger Blue says she doesn't believe he'll resign, and she doesn't know why. She says, what confuses me most is why Trump supporters would want this. Kamala would be POTUS and an incumbent in November. Thank you, Dodger Blue, for your support, and Stacey Bashford. You guys, you only have like 5 minutes to make any predictions. I'm just going to start reading some more predictions and chat messages. Let me just see if there's any other reporting on this, because I haven't checked. I'm not seeing it at the moment. I think we're good. Scott Hare says, Biden stated for weeks he was in it to win it, then abruptly drops from the race as the presumptive nominee. I give a 10% chance he resigns tonight. I think it's different. I think saying you're going to stay in when there's lots of reasons to drop out is different than this. That's what I think. But thank you, Scott, here for writing in. We keep getting people who say he's going to resign. Again, why would you do it like this? It just doesn't make any sense to me. It would just be really, really weird to just say you're talking about something else and then just all of a sudden say I'm resigning. I mean, again, I don't think the idea in theory of him resigning by itself is that crazy. But it would just be the oddest thing in the world to do it in this fashion. Supergram says he's going to say he realized it would be better for the country if he passed the torch, like he vowed to do when he first ran to be a transitional president. Now, he did already say, I think in the original announcement this weekend, that he thought it was better for the country and the party. But maybe he'll go into some more detail. 50 Shades of Mahomes, I have not heard any reporting suggesting that Republican legal action to tie up the transfer of funds of Biden funds to Harris, even though it's like the same organization that's been renamed. I have not heard any kind of what I would consider reliable legal analysis suggesting that has a decent chance of actually working or tying it up for a long time. That's the best I can tell you. About 3.5 minutes until this starts. Roy thinks he has to speak about Israel first because Netanyahu's around and spoke today. I don't know. He's supposed to meet with Netanyahu tomorrow. I think he's going to keep it about one topic. Arias says he should literally pass a torch to Harris in the speech. MetaGuide says, I think he's going to say he isn't running to ease tensions from recent events. Hey, thank you, MetaGuide, for your support. And Black Widow and Hello Harper Vlogs. People are messaging me about this story about some Russian jets which were encountered by American jets. I think that kind of thing just happens all the time. I don't want to get into the details right now, but that kind of stuff gets reported on all the time, where the jets come sort of close to another country and then the other country's jets have to escort it out. I believe that's just a common occurrence. There's nothing I've seen about that tonight that suggests it's some kind of really out of the way crazy occurrence. That whole thing. So I wouldn't spend a lot of time really worrying about it without getting into the details of it. Yeah, the White House just went live on their Twitter feed. So any moment now, this is supposed to start. We got to keep an eye out, because I know when he spoke a week ago, it just like started out of the blue. It just started really quick. So I don't want to miss the start of it. So I mean, you're watching the feed. I'm showing you the feed. Oh, I have a different feed too. Oh, I might have a better one. This is risky. Guys, I have the unrestricted pool feed. Hold on. I'm going to try this. I hope I don't regret this. I hope I don't regret this. Look at this. Look at this. This is the Reuters one I have. You're going to hate me. Don't hate me. Hold on. Where is it? It should be here. There it is. Look, there it is. There it is. All right, don't hate me. It's ready to go. This is the unrestricted pool feed. I'm getting this from Reuters, which I pay for. I feel like this might be a little better, but I don't know. Maybe it'll come on a little sooner. Anyways, I have a backup feed too. I'm just going with my gut. I'm going to end the poll, by the way. I'm going to go with this one. I'm going with my gut on this. I think this might be the one like the news networks use. This one here. Unrestricted pool. So that's why I'm going with this one. I got the other one muted, but I'm looking at it. And I got the sound on this one. Turn the sound up a little bit. So I'm literally watching two different feeds. I don't even want to turn my head away, because last time, let me turn the clock off. At any moment now, let me turn the clock off over here. Do I have time to fix the headline? Soon. Okay, I did that. He hasn't started yet. Oh no. Trying to fix the headline. Good. I think we're good. I think we're good to go. Fix this here. Okay. Here we go, guys. It's about to start. It's about to start. You are looking at the unrestricted pool feed via Reuters. I'm nervous. I'm nervous that I don't want to miss the start of it. Hey, thanks so much to Adrian Pale. Oh, Adrian's been watching since 2019. Thank you. That's so nice of you. Thanks also to Sheep Duckling Cow U. Oh, here we go. Here he is. Here he is. He hasn't started yet.
My fellow Americans, I'm speaking to you tonight from behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office. In this sacred space, I'm surrounded by portraits of extraordinary American presidents. Thomas Jefferson wrote the immortal words that guide this nation. George Washington, who showed us presidents are not kings. Abraham Lincoln, who implored us to reject malice. Franklin Roosevelt, who inspired us to reject fear. I revere this office, but I love my country more. It's been the honor of my life to serve as your president. But in the defense of democracy, which is at stake, I think is more important than any title. I draw strength and I find joy in working for the American people. But this sacred task of perfecting our union is not about me. It's about you, your families, your futures. It's about we, the people. We can never forget that. And I never have. I've made it clear that I believe America is at an inflection point. One of those rare moments in history when the decisions we make now will determine our fate of our nation and the world for decades to come. America's going to have to choose between moving forward or backward, between hope and hate, between unity and division. We have to decide, do we still believe in honesty, decency, respect, freedom, justice, and democracy? In this moment, we can see those we disagree with not as enemies, but as fellow Americans. Can we do that? Does character in public life still matter? I believe I know the answer to these questions because I know you, the American people. And I know this: we are a great nation because we are good people. When you elected me to this office, I promised to always level with you, to tell you the truth. And the truth, the sacred cause of this country, is larger than any one of us. And those of us who cherish that cause, cherish it so much, a cause of American democracy itself, must unite to protect it. You know, in recent weeks, it's become clear to me that I need to unite my party in this critical endeavor. I believe my record as president, my leadership in the world, my vision for America's future, all merited a second term. But nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. That includes personal ambition. So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. That's the best way to unite our nation. You know, there is a time and a place for long years of experience in public life. But there's also a time and a place for new voices, fresh voices, yes, younger voices. And that time and place is now. Over the next 6 months, I'll be focused on doing my job as president. That means I'll continue to lower costs for hardworking families, grow our economy. I'll keep defending our personal freedoms and our civil rights, from the right to vote to the right to choose. I'll keep calling out hate and extremism. Make it clear there is no place in America for political violence or any violence ever, period. I'm going to keep speaking out to protect our kids from gun violence, our planet from climate crisis that is the existential threat. And I will keep fighting for my cancer moonshot so we can end cancer as we know it, because we can do it. And I'm going to call for Supreme Court reform because this is critical to our democracy, Supreme Court reform. You know, I will keep working to ensure America remains strong and secure and the leader of the free world. I'm the first president in this century to report to the American people that the United States is not at war anywhere in the world. We'll keep rallying a coalition of proud nations to stop Putin from taking over Ukraine and doing more damage. We'll keep NATO stronger, and I'll make it more powerful and more united than any time in all of our history. I'll keep doing the same for our allies in the Pacific. You know, when I came to office, the conventional wisdom was that China would inevitably surpass the United States. That's not the case anymore. And I'm going to keep working to end the war in Gaza, bring home all the hostages, and bring peace and security to the Middle East and end this war. We're also working around the clock to bring home Americans being unjustly detained all around the world. You know, we've come so far since my inauguration. On that day, I told you, as I stood in that winter, we stood in a winter of peril and a winter of possibilities, peril and possibilities. We were in the grip of the worst pandemic in a century, the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression, the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. But we came together as Americans, and we got through it. We emerged stronger, more prosperous, and more secure. Today we have the strongest economy in the world, creating nearly 16 million new jobs, a record. Wages are up. Inflation continues to come down. The racial wealth gap is the lowest it's been in 20 years. We're literally rebuilding our entire nation, urban, suburban, rural, and tribal communities. Manufacturing has come back to America. We're leading the world again in chips and science and innovation. We finally beat Big Pharma after all these years to lower the cost of prescription drugs for seniors. And I'm going to keep fighting to make sure we lower the cost for everyone, not just seniors. More people have health care today in America than ever before. And I signed one of the most significant laws helping millions of veterans and their families who were exposed to toxic materials. You know, most significant climate law ever in the history of the world. The first major gun safety law in 30 years. And today, the violent crime rate is at a 50-year low. We're also securing our border. Border crossings are lower today than when the previous administration left office. I've kept my commitment to appoint the first black woman to the Supreme Court of the United States of America. I also kept my commitment to have an administration that looks like America and be a president for all Americans. That's what I've done. I ran for president 4 years ago because I believed and still do that the soul of America was at stake. The very nature of who we are was at stake. And that's still the case. America's an idea. An idea stronger than any army, bigger than any ocean, more powerful than any dictator or tyrant. It's the most powerful idea in the history of the world. That idea is that we hold these truths to be self-evident. We're all created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights: life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. We've never fully lived up to it, to this sacred idea, but we've never walked away from it either. And I do not believe the American people will walk away from it now. In just a few months, the American people will choose the course of America's future. I made my choice. I've made my views known. I would like to thank our great Vice President, Kamala Harris. She's experienced, she's tough, she's capable. She's been an incredible partner to me and a leader for our country. Now the choice is up to you, the American people. When you make that choice, remember the words of Benjamin Franklin hanging on my wall here in the Oval Office, alongside the busts of Dr. King and Rosa Parks and Cesar Chavez. When Ben Franklin was asked, as he emerged from the convention going on, whether the founders have given America a monarchy or republic, Franklin's response was, a republic, if you can keep it. A republic, if you can keep it. Whether we keep our republic is now in your hands. My fellow Americans, it's been the privilege of my life to serve this nation for over 50 years. Nowhere else on earth could a kid with a stutter, from modest beginnings in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Claymont, Delaware, one day sit behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office as President of the United States. But here I am. That's what's so special about America. We're a nation of promise and possibilities, of dreamers and doers, of ordinary Americans doing extraordinary things. I've given my heart and my soul to our nation, like so many others. I've been blessed a million times in return with the love and support of the American people. I hope you have some idea how grateful I am to all of you. The great thing about America is here, kings and dictators do not rule, the people do. History is in your hands. The power is in your hands. The idea of America lies in your hands. You just have to keep faith, keep the faith, And remember who we are. We're the United States of America. And there's simply nothing beyond our capacity when we do it together. So let's act together. Preserve our democracy. God bless you all. And may God protect our troops. Thank you.
All right, that was President Biden saying, the big theme was, the biggest theme was he thinks democracy is risk, which he has said before, and he sees that the coming election as a big crossroads for America. And he wants Americans to preserve democracy. Now, he didn't specifically say Trump, right? I don't think he said the word Trump in the speech. But clearly, what he's saying is he is concerned about Trump winning the election and thinks it's a threat to democracy. So that was the big theme of the speech. But two other things he did in the speech is, one, he outlined some of what he feels are his presidency's achievements, and he also talked about things he would continue working on for the remaining months of his presidency. Things like strengthening NATO and defending Ukraine and things. I don't recall hearing any kind of giant new policy proposals. So on the one hand, it was I think the most important theme for the main theme was he was conveying to Americans that he believes democracy is at risk in the upcoming election, and then also there was this kind of summary of what he thought the achievements of his presidency were and how he proposed to continue the priorities he proposed to continue working on in the remaining months of his presidency. Anyways, let me know what you thought about it. We'll probably play it again at some point. By the way, how long was it? Does anyone know how long it was? Anyone do a time code thing? Let's see. He just got done a minute and a half ago. It was about, It was about 11 minutes long. About 11 minutes long. So it was over. We were thinking over under of 7 minutes. Anyways, I want to hear what you guys have to say. What do you think? Quick thanks to Walter Beasley, Kerry Poteet, Boomer Wow for your support, and Casper. I really appreciate it. And Adrian Pale, thank you. All right. So let's see what people think. Infernal Machine said he never mentioned why he's quitting. Oh, I disagree with you, but that is also, my summary was deficient. Because one other thing, I'm sorry, bad Steve, I left something out of my summary. One other very important part of the speech was at the beginning, he talked about why he stepped down. And he felt that democracy was at risk. He thought it was necessary to pass the torch to a younger generation. So he did talk about wanting to bring in younger people and younger voices and thinking it was necessary to pass the torch. I have to go back and listen to the exact language. But that was in the first part. He was giving reasons, talking about the reasoning behind his wanting to step down. So I forgot about that. That's totally my fault. That's the other part of the speech. Yes. Let's see here. I mean, he didn't go into real detail. It's not like he was like, well, I was sitting there last week on this day and then somebody came in with this poll and the poll said this or that. It wasn't that kind of detail about it. Let's see. Jesse's girl says he seems sad he didn't endorse Kamala. Well, he did say good words about her. And again, so I don't know if it's this thing where he's speaking from the Oval Office and he doesn't want to explicitly get too political in the Oval Office, because in theory, when you're acting in the Oval Office, you're acting as the president and you're not campaigning. So I don't know if that's why. I mean, look, he didn't say the word Trump either. I think it was pretty clear what his main message was. The overall message was you should vote for Kamala and not Trump to preserve democracy. Whether or not you at home agree with that or not, I think you can agree that was the overarching message of the speech. So my point is, in the same way he never said the word Trump, I don't think once, my guess is for similar reasons, maybe he didn't start saying Kamala, Kamala, Kamala. That'd be my guess. But I think it was pretty clear what the thrust of the speech was. Let me read some more comments from you guys here. Give me a shout. You can write to me on X at Lookner. No, it did not seem pre-recorded to me. It seemed like it was live. I'm not there, but it certainly seemed like it was live to me. Devastator says that was a campaign speech. Well, he says they used the Oval Office for that. So, look, I do think a significant part of that speech was trying to encourage people to vote a certain way in November. So, it's up to you what view you have of that kind of thing. Now, the thing is, though, remember, it's a little hard if he's gonna talk about why he decided to not run, which he said he was gonna do. He can't really talk about that without getting a bit campaigny, because the reason he's not running is that he felt that this was a big election, and that he thought that it was best for the country. The implication is that somebody else has a better chance of winning, somebody younger. He certainly didn't come out and say, I thought I couldn't do the job anymore. That's not what he said. So, if he's gonna talk about why he decided to not run, he kind of has to get a little campaigny. But again, I leave it to you to make a judgment about whether you think it's an appropriate Oval Office speech. Didn't have to give it in the Oval Office. Whether you think it was too campaigny or it's fine or it doesn't bother you, I don't know. That's up to you. But again, the very reason he decided to not run has to do with the actual his thoughts on the importance of the upcoming election. Let's see here. A quick thanks to Ava F. Ava believes he brought the country back from the brink. Thank you also to Longboard Ninja Master, our member, and thank you also to Dodger Blue and Emily B. Emily B thinks he will go down in history as a man who loved his country. Thank you also, Energetic Giraffes, who feel like he was pushed out. Thanks also to Walter Beasley. Appreciate it, Walter. And Kerry Poteet, who mentioned it had gone over 7 minutes. Yeah, I couldn't tell if it was going to go below or above 7 minutes. It was 11 minutes. Thanks, Boomer Wow. Wow, PH Survivor, that's very kind of you, PH Survivor 92. I really do appreciate that. Thanks for your generous support of the channel. And also Casper and Kay Crimlin, thanks for your support. I appreciate that. Let me read some more comments from you guys. Let's see here. So I'm trying to read a bunch of comments. Marin thought he had a lisp throughout his speech. I didn't specifically notice a lisp. I mean, there were a couple stumbles. I mean, that's kind of like the usual, I feel like, these days for him. I didn't notice a lisp. I noticed a couple stumbles. At one point, he was trying to say constitutional convention, I think, and then just said the convention or something like that. But anyways, I'm just saying my impressions. John Turpin says, Joe Biden pledged to unite Americans. We've never been more divided as a nation. Well, if you think that's true, I'll leave it to you whether you think that's Joe Biden's fault or not. Thanks, John, for writing in. Brandon Johnson thought it was a really good speech. Thanks, Brandon, for writing in. Oh, we're not live at the White House anymore, by the way. Let's see here. You know what I did notice? It's interesting. That feed I was using was the pool feed. One of our viewers just mentioned that CNN was using that feed, 50 Shades of Mahomes. Yeah, so I got that feed from Reuters. But I think that was like the network news feed. But if you looked at the feed that ran on the White House YouTube, he's like looking off to the side. It's too bad that it's like there's a couple different cameras there, and it's like, so if he's looking at one, he's not going to be looking at the other, and it's too bad they can't just use one feed. Because it's too bad that like on the White House feed, which is the free YouTube feed that anybody can go to the White House site and watch, he's like looking to the side because he can't look in two places at once. Uh-oh, sorry. You know what I realized? I'm sorry, thanks for letting me know. So we were not on this shot for a while. We were watching so now that we're back on this shot, I never changed the headline on this shot, and that's why it's all messed up. I apologize. So let me just do this. I'll turn off the clock, and then I got to replace the headline. What should I say? Like, I'll just leave it like this for now. Biden addresses nation from Oval Office. We'll play it again. I just want to get something. I want to get something on the screen here. So let me just fix the headline, and then I'll take some more comments. But we will play it again. Let me do it this way, actually. Hang on. You're going to see, it's going to say this live event has ended. Oops. No, we want to do it this way. I'm going to play this again in a second. Oh, I'll have to play the one. I'll do this one. Let me just update the headline. Sorry. I'm taking too long to do this. There. Ignore how it says this live event has ended. Let me just fix the headline. I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do this, just so I can take some more of your comments. It was not fixed on the, but we're going to watch it again. We will play at least one more time. Okay. Hang on a moment. Let me take some more comments from you guys. Oh, one of my viewers, what is this here? I'll have to read this later. One of the viewers sent this to me. I'll just let you. Jen mentioned this. Faytux Network posted this. Representative Norma Torres posted about a half hour ago. She's a California congresswoman. She said interns and staff in my district office discovered a suspicious white powdery substance in 2 incoming letters addressed to my office. Capitol Police and local law enforcement have been informed. Hazmat teams are on site investigating the substance. No one is experiencing any symptoms at this time, and all normal operating precautions were observed, including the use of airtight equipment while opening the letters. Out of an abundance of caution, my staff will be sheltering in place. Okay, I'm not going to get all into this now. I mean, this kind of stuff happens once in a while, unfortunately. I'll keep an eye on it, but I'll keep an eye on it. Maybe we'll come back to this a little later in the broadcast. I don't want to get caught up with this right now. There's no evidence that the stuff in there was harmful right now. So, anyways, thanks for letting me know about it, though. Let me take some more of your comments on Biden's speech. He did not resign. A number of our viewers kept insisting he was going to resign. Mercy thinks he did not endorse Harris. I just disagree with you. I disagree. He said positive things about Harris. By the way, he already endorsed Harris on his social media. Can we establish this? Because a couple people have said he did not endorse Harris. He already has endorsed Harris. That's been done already. He very clearly did it. Look, days ago, my fellow Democrats, today I want to offer my full support and endorsement for Kamala Harris to be the nominee of our party this year. Democrats, it's time to come together and beat Trump. Let's do this. So she didn't mention her name much, but he also didn't mention Trump's name much. I don't think he said Trump's name at all. But I mean, when he's already endorsed her and you know she's going to be the nominee and he's he's suggesting again and again and again that you should vote against Trump without saying it in so many words. That to me counts as an endorsement. KFT says, seems pretty clear to me. Thanks, Desi Des, for your support. Thank you, Akeem Idler, for your support. Akeem thinks he will be remembered as one of the greatest presidents of the United States. That's what Akeem thinks. Thanks, Akeem, for your support. And the Mass Effect Krant, our member, thanks for mentioning the headline. We got that fixed. Thank you, Junebug. Junebug Lynn thinks he put the country before himself. David Spivak, thank you. David says, did you notice how hard he was swallowing? I definitely heard his swallowing. I can't say he was swallowing hard. I have no idea. Is he mic'd differently? Is he swallowing any differently than he normally does? Or is like the microphone set up different? Maybe he was swallowing louder, or maybe he wasn't. I don't know. It's a good question, but I don't know. Maybe his throat was dry. I do not know. Hero protagonist thinks he handled it with grace. Complex Pixel think he could barely talk. No, Supergram says he couldn't use names. It's illegal to use the Oval Office for campaigning. I think you're talking about the Hatch Act, but the Hatch Act does not apply to presidents. Just so you know. Wikipedia. The Hatch Act is a United States federal law. Its main provision prohibits civil service employees in the executive branch, except the president and vice president, from engaging in some form of political activity. I don't know of any law that makes it illegal for him to talk about, to do a campaign speech from the Oval Office, although it may be seen as inappropriate, maybe more custom. Russell Vanasek says it isn't illegal, it's just really distasteful. Yeah, it's an interesting question whether that speech could have or should have or whatever been done from a different location. I don't know enough about that debate, but it's an interesting question. A quick thanks to anonymous crypto donor to the channel. Hey, that's really nice of you. Thank you. Also, a quick thanks to Janice McConnell for your support and Scott Campbell. Thank you, Scott, for your support. We're going to watch the speech again in a moment because it's not that long, and I think it's worth watching again. It's hard, you watch it the first time and you miss things too. SRT Gamer says, I miss it. Yeah, we're going to watch it again in a minute. People like, should I ask a poll question? I don't know. I don't know what poll question to ask about that speech. I don't want to ask, like, did you like it? Because then the people who like them will say yes, and the people who don't like them will say no. Yeah, somebody's got to suggest a poll question. I don't have a good one off the top of my head. I'm looking at the chat right now. Hey, thanks, Bone Mama. I appreciate your support of the channel. Thank you so much. It's hard, not an easy one to ask a poll about. Oh. Yeah, I mean, I'll ask this question. One of the viewers said, you could ask, will the speech help Kamala's campaign? I mean, in the absence of anything else, I'll ask that one. All right, we'll just do this poll for now. We can do another one later if we want, just to get one out there, because people always are saying we should do polls. Okay, let's see here what you guys have to say before we watch the remarks again. So over there on YouTube, we asked, will that speech help Kamala's campaign? Doesn't mean whether you liked it or not. Do you think it'll help her campaign? So 71% say no and 29% say yes on YouTube. And then over there on Twitch, pretty consistent. Twitch is 65 no, 35 yes. 63 no, 37 yes. 61 no, 39 yes. Probably not an easy speech to make. You know, when you talk about that you got to pass the torch to a younger generation, that's probably not a fun thing to talk about. I'm sure I know he wants to run for president again. He said that. So that probably one of the biggest moments of his life making that speech on a personal level. Thanks so much, Cheyenne Perez, for your support. Thanks, Cheyenne. And also Shaft for the gift memberships. Thank you, Shaft. All right, so I'm going to end these polls now, but you guys are not that far off. About a third of you say it'll help the campaign. 2/3 say no. I kind of think we should watch it again. Let me read a few more comments about it, then we'll watch it again. I do get I do get it though. You know, it's this. On the one hand, you want him to say more about. You get like, yeah, it'd be good if you say more why you didn't want to run. But if the reason he doesn't want to run is because he thinks he strongly supports one side in the next election, then it's going to be hard not to have it be like a campaign type of speech. And that wasn't all he did, but I mean, the main message of the speech is vote for this side in the next election. That really is, to me, the overriding message. So, you know, it's hard because in theory, it's like he's doing it from the White House and he's the president of all Americans. But so it's kind of a difficult situation. He certainly is not the first president to endorse one side or the other. But I guess maybe the fact that it's like an Oval Office address to the nation. I mean, it's not like he's appearing at a Harris campaign rally. That's a bit different. Let's see here. Thoth Unknown says the debate forced their hand. Mel Raz, a couple of our viewers said he seemed sad. A couple of our viewers have said this, that he seemed sad. Mel Raz says, I felt really bad for him. He seemed so sad. Eric thought it was a selfless act. Vegas Gem thought he had trouble speaking. Jade Anderson says it almost sounded like a goodbye speech. Elizabeth G. says he wants to run, but his party didn't want him to run. Yo-Yo Pro John said he did not act neutral. All right, why don't we watch it one more time? It's not that long. Let's watch it one more time. Some of you probably didn't see it. I think it's interesting to watch it again, even if you didn't see it, if you did see it. And I'm going to play, kind of want to play it this way. I'll play the White House version. Actually, hold on a second. Let me do something real quick. Hang on. One moment. One moment here, please. One moment, please. Oh, no, I'll do it this way. Hang on. Give me a second. Let me just do it this way. Give me 1 sec, guys. I'll get it on the screen for you. I will get it on the screen for you. Here. Are you ready? Are you ready? So this is going to be a replay. This is going to be a replay of the speech I'm going to show you right now. We're going to watch it. Replay. Get that up there. Look, it says replay. Okay, I am going to press play and it's going to start playing. I think it's going to work. Here we go. Let's watch the replay of Biden addressing the nation. Oops, hold on. I got to cue it up. I didn't cue it up. You would have been sitting there for 10 minutes. Here it is. If it's working. Hang on. Now it's all being funky.
My fellow Americans, I'm speaking to you tonight from behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office. In this sacred space, I'm surrounded by portraits of extraordinary American presidents. Thomas Jefferson wrote the immortal words that guide this nation. George Washington, who showed us presidents are not kings. Abraham Lincoln, who implored us to reject malice. Franklin Roosevelt, who inspired us to reject fear. I revere this office, but I love my country more. It's been the honor of my life to serve as your president. But in the defense of democracy, which is at stake, I think is more important than any title. I draw strength and I find joy in working for the American people. But this sacred task of perfecting our union is not about me. It's about you, your families, your futures. It's about we, the people. And we can never forget that. And I never have. I've made it clear that I believe America is at an inflection point. One of those rare moments in history when the decisions we make now will determine our fate of our nation and the world for decades to come. America's going to have to choose between moving forward or backward, between hope and hate, between unity and division. We have to decide, do we still believe in honesty, decency, respect, freedom, justice, and democracy? In this moment, we can see those we disagree with not as enemies, but as fellow Americans. Can we do that? Does character in public life still matter? I believe I know the answer to these questions because I know you, the American people. And I know this: we are a great nation because we are good people. When you elected me to this office, I promised to always level with you, to tell you the truth. And the truth, the sacred cause of this country, is larger than any one of us. And those of us who cherish that cause, cherish it so much, a cause of American democracy itself, must unite to protect it. You know, in recent weeks, it's become clear to me that I need to unite my party in this critical endeavor. I believe my record as president, my leadership in the world, my vision for America's future, all merited a second term. But nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. That includes personal ambition. So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. That's the best way to unite our nation. You know, there is a time and a place for long years of experience in public life. But there's also a time and a place for new voices, fresh voices, yes, younger voices. And that time and place is now. Over the next 6 months, I'll be focused on doing my job as president. That means I'll continue to lower costs for hardworking families, grow our economy. I'll keep defending our personal freedoms and our civil rights, from the right to vote to the right to choose. I'll keep calling out hate and extremism. Make it clear there is no place in America for political violence or any violence ever, period. I'm going to keep speaking out to protect our kids from gun violence, our planet from climate crisis that is the existential threat. And I will keep fighting for my cancer moonshot so we can end cancer as we know it, because we can do it. And I'm going to call for Supreme Court reform because this is critical to our democracy, Supreme Court reform. You know, I will keep working to ensure America remains strong and secure and the leader of the free world. I'm the first president in this century to report to the American people that the United States is not at war anywhere in the world. We'll keep rallying a coalition of proud nations to stop Putin from taking over Ukraine and doing more damage. We'll keep NATO stronger, and I'll make it more powerful and more united than any time in all of our history. I'll keep doing the same for our allies in the Pacific. You know, when I came to office, the conventional wisdom was that China would inevitably surpass the United States. That's not the case anymore. And I'm going to keep working to end the war in Gaza, bring home all the hostages, and bring peace and security to the Middle East and end this war. We're also working around the clock to bring home Americans being unjustly detained all around the world. You know, we've come so far since my inauguration. On that day, I told you, as I stood in that winter, we stood in a winter of peril and a winter of possibilities. Peril and possibilities. We were in the grip of the worst pandemic in the century. The worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. The worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. But we came together as Americans, and we got through it. We emerged stronger, more prosperous, and more secure. Today we have the strongest economy in the world, creating nearly 16 million new jobs, a record. Wages are up. Inflation continues to come down. The racial wealth gap is the lowest it's been in 20 years. We're literally rebuilding our entire nation, urban, suburban, rural, and tribal communities. Manufacturing has come back to America. We're leading the world again in chips and science and innovation. We finally beat Big Pharma after all these years to lower the cost of prescription drugs for seniors. And I'm going to keep fighting to make sure we lower the cost for everyone, not just seniors. More people have health care today in America than ever before. And I signed one of the most significant laws helping millions of veterans and their families who are exposed to toxic materials. You know, the most significant climate law ever in the history of the world. The first major gun safety law in 30 years. And today, the violent crime rate is at a 50-year low. We're also securing our border. Border crossings are lower today than when the previous administration left office. I've kept my commitment to appoint the first black woman to the Supreme Court of the United States of America. I also kept my commitment to have an administration that looks like America and be a president for all Americans. That's what I've done. I ran for president 4 years ago because I believed and still do that the soul of America was at stake. The very nature of who we are was at stake. And that's still the case. America's an idea. An idea stronger than any army, bigger than any ocean, more powerful than any dictator or tyrant. It's the most powerful idea in the history of the world. That idea is that we hold these truths to be self-evident. We're all created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights: life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. We've never fully lived up to it, to this sacred idea, but we've never walked away from it either. And I do not believe the American people will walk away from it now. In just a few months, the American people will choose the course of America's future. I made my choice. I've made my views known. I would like to thank our great Vice President Kamala Harris. She's experienced, she's tough, she's capable. She's been an incredible partner to me and a leader for our country. Now the choice is up to you, the American people. When you make that choice, remember the words of Benjamin Franklin hanging on my wall here in the Oval Office, alongside the busts of Dr. King and Rosa Parks and Cesar Chavez. When Ben Franklin was asked, as he emerged from the convention going on, whether the founders have given America a monarchy or republic, Franklin's response was, a republic, if you can keep it. A republic, if you can keep it. Whether we keep our republic is now in your hands. My fellow Americans, it's been the privilege of my life to serve this nation for over 50 years. Nowhere else on earth could a kid with a stutter, from modest beginnings in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Claymont, Delaware, one day sit behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office as President of the United States. But here I am. That's what's so special about America. We're a nation of promise and possibilities, of dreamers and doers, of ordinary Americans doing extraordinary things. I've given my heart and my soul to our nation, like so many others. I've been blessed a million times in return with the love and support of the American people. I hope you have some idea how grateful I am to all of you. The great thing about America is here, kings and dictators do not rule, the people do. History is in your hands. The power is in your hands. The idea of America lies in your hands. We just have to keep faith, keep the faith, and remember who we are. We're the United States of America, and there's simply nothing beyond our capacity when we do it together. So let's act together, preserve our democracy. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you.
All right, so that was the replay of President Biden's address to the nation. He said he had stepped aside in defense of democracy. He stepped aside and decided to not run. And he thought that it was time for some new voices, for some younger voices. And but again, clearly the main thrust of the speech was that he had stepped aside because he thought the democracy was at threat. And he thought a younger, newer candidate, this is what's implied, would have a better chance at the election. And he thinks it's up to Americans to save democracy in the coming election. And he also, I think, spent a bit of time listing what he thought the achievements of his administration were. Anyways, I'm going to take a few more comments from you guys as to what you thought of the speech. Hey, thanks, by the way, to Bone Mama and also Carrier Kyle and Nicole for your support. Nicole said he said himself he was only interested in running for one term during his first campaign, so this is what I expected anyway. I don't remember exactly what he said. I know he talked about being a transitional president, right? Anyways, I don't know all the things he said, but thank you, Nicole. Let's see here. Did I notice the bruise on his jaw? No, I did not, Donna. Yeah, so some people are saying it wasn't democracy to allow the way it turned out with the candidate. So again, let me just say again, because I like to do this, because I see this argument, it wasn't democratic the way the candidate was chosen. So first of all, the candidate has not been chosen yet. The candidate will be chosen based on the delegates. Around 4,000 delegates have to vote. So first of all, just some arguments that might be given back to this claim that it was anti-democratic the way Harris will end up being nominee. First of all, you can find polling that many polls suggest that the vast majority of Democrats do not want Joe Biden as their nominee. Okay, just to be clear, many polls suggest that the vast majority of Democrats do not want Joe Biden as their nominee. Second of all, you can find a significant number of Democrats who say they wish there had been a competitive primary. There really was not even a competitive primary. There was no serious contender put up against Biden in the primary, so primary voters really had no real choice. A lot of Democrats would say that. Okay? And third of all, so I think it would be preferable in terms of democratic procedures, it would be preferable to do a whole, all other things being equal, it would be preferable to do a whole campaign where you have many candidates and you have primaries again in every state with people coming out to vote. My guess is, I don't know exactly why this is, my guess is that there are major practical reasons preventing that from happening. Possibly one being that the convention is in less than a month and you would have to somehow organize all of these state votes in less than a month. And I'm guessing there's all kinds of logistical things involved in that and perhaps legal, which can prevent putting it together so fast. I don't know that for sure, but so my guess is that there is a practicality aspect to not having a whole other primary thing. But just to be clear, this is not a situation where the large majority of Democrats want one candidate and the Democratic elites are stuffing some other candidate down their throat because, as I said repeatedly, there are many polls that show that the vast majority of Democrats do not want Joe Biden to be their candidate. Just to make it clear. LJD3 says, seems people were not really given a choice. Again, they certainly were not really given much of a choice in the primary. As for this, I mean, the other thing here is like, look, other candidates could have run. All of the people seen as major contenders to Harris, other possible candidates, one by one, they all came out and said, we support Harris. Not a single you can't force someone to run. You can't, so again, not a single person who I think was situated to be a possible contender to her, realistically, came out and said, I want to run against her. None of them. Now, again, I don't deny that in terms of what would be ideal in terms of citizen input, in an ideal world, you would have multiple candidates and you'd have people doing direct voting like in a primary. So I understand that. But it's possible that that wasn't realistic. So I also think there's different, to say something, to complain that something isn't ideally democratic. There's a scale, right? On the one hand, you can imagine things on this scale of more or less democratic. So on the one hand, you can certainly say, well, there's no nationwide primary. That'd probably be more democratic. And you could say, well, there was nobody else really, nobody else gave a choice to people around the country because nobody was running against her. I understand that. At the same time, it certainly is not the case that that party elites threw out the choice of the vast majority of people at this time and shoved somebody else down their throat that they didn't want. That I think would just be an utterly inaccurate way to describe the situation. So I think it'd be more accurate to say that on the scale from ideally democratic to completely undemocratic, there's certainly, it's not at the ideally democratic end, but also I would certainly say it's not at the completely undemocratic end. And I think there's some people saying it's all the way down here, and it just doesn't seem to be the case to me. Let's see here. Gail Pett says, just because you suddenly realize your candidate can't win, does it mean it's okay to change candidates in the middle of the election? So what do you mean okay? There's nothing about this procedure that violated Democratic Party rules. The rules are such that a person, that Biden can choose not to run. And it's also, there would have been no nominee named yet. Also, when you say just because you suddenly realize your candidate can't win, a lot of Democrats would not agree. A lot of Democrats would say, oh, I always wanted a choice and I never got one. Also, some other Democrats would say, well, I didn't realize, it's not that I realized he couldn't win. The big point is I didn't realize what bad shape he was in until the debate. Some other people might say, well, I saw him a year ago and he was fine, but I should have the right to be able to change my mind if some kind of health thing happens and he is not the person he was 5 months ago. Shouldn't I have that right as a voter before the nomination is chosen? If somebody goes way downhill in their condition, that I can change my mind? So again, I'm just encouraging you, before taking such hardline positions, try to think of the arguments against those positions. People like to take hardline extreme positions. There's a real lack of subtlety, generally speaking, when people take positions on things. There's a real lack of subtlety and a real lack of acknowledging the complexity of things, whether it's an opinion of a candidate or an opinion about a certain kind of policy. We tend to see a lot of just extreme positions. And I would just ask that whatever question you're thinking about and whatever policy, whether it's a policy or a person, try to think of arguments on the other side. And I think if you do that, you will often find that the situation is more complex than a simple soundbite position really captures. Lots of things in this world are quite complex, and lots of things of this world, lots of debates, have things to be said on both sides. So I would just encourage you to try to think of the other side of a position before taking an extreme position on one side. I think you might find that things are actually more complex than you originally realized. When I was actually, you know what? When I was in, I think, 5th grade, I was taking a current events class with Miss Cleveland. I remember her name. And one of the best things, one of the best school assignments I ever had is she said, okay, so she said, everybody pick a current events topic and tell me what position you support. And then she said, now write a paper supporting the opposite side. And my brain exploded. I was like, what? Why would you want us to do such a thing? But from doing it, it was very instructive. And I realized, oh, wow, there are some good points on the other side. So I think it's a healthy thing to consider no matter what position you're considering. So I would encourage you to do that. Okay, let's see here. Let's take a few more comments from you guys. Thanks, Blue Steel Kenny, for your support. And Laura the Swan Princess. Blue Steel Kenny, I'll have to look into that after this stream. I apologize. It's a little off topic right now. I'll look into it after the stream. Thank you, Laura the Swan Princess, and for your support. Let's see here. Kookaburra said, did the speech answer people's questions on why he actually resigned? Well, what he basically said in the speech was that he felt democracy was at risk in this election. It's a very important election. And he felt that somebody younger would have a better chance of winning the election. Now, he didn't explicitly say that, but that was just clearly what he was saying. He basically said things in a way that clearly implied that. He also said, it's important to put something like personal ambition. Personal ambition is not as important as like the saving the country or whatever. So that was the reason suggested by the speech. I think that was pretty clear. Hey, thanks to Jason Minard for your support. He says, is it true, though, that Democrats are given a chance to change their minds or are being given the option B they didn't decide? So look, on the one hand, yes, there was no primary. There was no primary for who would replace Biden. I agree with you. On the other hand, no one else who was realistically a challenger even said they wanted to run. Now, you might argue, well, maybe if the party elites just said from the first moment, we should have like a mini campaign. Or maybe Biden could have said we should have a mini campaign. So, look, I understand that debate but I will say this. I don't think it's the case. If nothing else, I don't think it's the case that the vast majority of Democrats just hate Kamala Harris and don't want her to run. Because I do think if that was the case, you would have such an uproar. If there was somebody else that was so preferred to Kamala Harris, you would have a giant uproar from the Democrats around the country, which I'm not really seeing right now. I'm not aware of. Now, that's not to say that they, in a primary, say there was a month-long mini primary, maybe they would have warmed up to somebody else. So I do understand that concern. Look, Barack Obama came out on Sunday and said he wanted an open process. So, I understand that argument saying, like, wouldn't it be better to have an open process? Wouldn't it be better to have various candidates do a few debates or something like that, and then so I understand that. But, another thing that happened is a lot of delegates have come out. A majority of delegates have already come out and said, we're going to vote for Kamala Harris. Now, they didn't have to do that. The delegates could have come out and said, we're not going to vote for her. We want an open process. So it's a very interesting question as to what could have been done differently. How easy would it have been to do it differently? Why wasn't it done differently? I understand all of that, believe me. But just to be clear, just because it's the case that it could have been done differently and there could have been a mini primary doesn't mean that, all Democrats hate Kamala Harris and they had somebody forced down their throat that they never would have chosen. It's very possible that if there was like some kind of 4-person mini primary, she would have been the choice. So I certainly, Jason, get that concern. And I think it's worth talking about. That's the way it ended up, So, but at the same time, I haven't seen a giant uproar from Democratic voters that so many Democratic voters are so angry about what happened. And I think if they were, there's a world in which you would have seen more of an uproar, and you didn't. So it's a good question. What percent of Democratic voters would have wanted to have this mini primary thing? I don't know. It's a good question. But I appreciate you bringing it up. And thank you so much, Jason, for your support from Costa Rica. And also Crystal Vines and Sween for your support. I really appreciate it. Thank you. It's like at a certain point, if the party leadership is like angling towards just going with Harris, if Democratic voters don't want that, then they got to come out and say something. If the delegates all hated the idea, they could have come out and said, they could have issued statements saying, we, the delegates of Louisiana, the Democratic delegates of Louisiana, we want an open process. We, the delegates of Pennsylvania, we want an open process. Believe me, if 4/5 of the state delegations came out and said, we want an open process, I think there would have been an open kind of process. Now, you might argue that, the delegates are more Biden supporters, so they like Harris. I'm just saying I do think if there was a big enough outcry that we could have seen a more open process. I also think a bunch of the people who might have run against Harris were kind of waiting and trying to feel out where are the voters at? Where's the party at right now? And I think they made they figured them for themselves that the party's not there for whatever reason. Peep thinks the donations speak for itself. Captain Adams says needs to be competitive process. Let's see here. We'll read a few more comments here. And by the way, the convention starts on August 19th. August 19th is when the convention starts, Democratic Convention, which we will be covering. Hustle and Low mentioned that Jill Biden, the First Lady, posted this 45 minutes ago. I guess right after Joe Biden's speech. Is that when this was? Hang on. What do I messed something up here. What did I mess up? This? Here. Dr. Jill Biden said, "To those who never wavered, to those who refuse to doubt, to those who always believe, my heart is full of gratitude. Thank you for the trust you put in Joe. Now it's time to put that trust in Kamala. Love, Jill." So she posted that at 8:22 p.m., which I believe was right after Joe finished his speech. Evan B. Daniels, our viewer, thinks no one wants an open convention. Lucas Hessen says, when will Harris become the official Democratic nominee and when will we know who her VP pick is? I believe the way the party is organizing it is that they're going to have a virtual roll call before the convention. I think that's what the party is planning. For example, The Guardian reported today that that Democrats will legally nominate their candidate as early as August 1st through a virtual roll call vote. The chair of the DNC said the virtual roll call vote would be held either on August 1st or begin on August 3rd, depending on whether there's a challenger to Harris. So beginning of, looks like first week of August, start of August. And then I had read something about August 7th for the BP candidate, BP pick, that there's going to be some kind of thing in the, I think having to do with the Democratic convention rules or Democratic party rules, which would make it so that the VP pick would be in by August 7th, but I'm not sure. The Hill had an article today that says, the Democratic National Committee expects to start a virtual roll call for Harris if she's the only one running on August 1st, and if she wins the nomination, which she will, for her to select a running mate in advance of August 7th. Now, maybe that's something they've talked to her camp about. So I've been hearing that today. Thanks, Lucas, for writing in. Avion mentioned left side of his face showing paralysis and noticing a bruise on his chin. Again, I didn't notice. Some of you said you noticed. I didn't notice it when I was watching. I can just do this real quick. I mean, this is a screen grab of him talking. I don't know. I don't know. I don't notice his face being paralyzed. What can I say? Is this what the internet is going crazy about? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. It doesn't look crazy to me. Maybe he has a bruise or something there. I don't know. I'm not going to. Unlike the many of you in the chat who have medical degrees, I do not have a medical degree. So I'm sorry I'm not like most of you in the chat who all have medical degrees and are medical specialists and can diagnose Biden from watching his speech. So I'm not going to get into diagnosis. Unlike the ones in the chat who have dual degrees, who have gone to medical school and then went to law school and also got law degrees specializing in intellectual property and copyright. I have neither of those degrees, so I'm not going to be weighing in on either of those things. All right. Well, I will say, when I look at like these kind of like White House speeches, you know, a big speech like this, the most important thing to me is, did we see something that was radically different than what we expected? I would argue no. I don't think there was anything in that speech that was very different than what I expected. There was no big surprise in that speech to me. Not that I knew everything he was going to say, but basically what you expected, I think. That to me. So I didn't see anything particularly surprising. Ron Egnor says, I thought I heard in the radio day there are 14 states that the time has expired to add a presidential candidate for the next election. I have not heard that at all. I've not heard a single... Thank you, Ronald, for asking the question. Ron's one of our moderators. Thank you for moderating, Ronald. Just to be clear, I follow a lot of different outlets and sources, and I have not heard a single report in the last month that said anything about any type of deadline to add a candidate. And that wouldn't even make sense because the Democratic convention isn't even until August 19th to 22nd. And there was always a chance, there was no guarantee that the convention wouldn't be a contested convention. So it wouldn't make sense if states had requirements to add a candidate before the convention. And indeed, there was one state, Ohio, which has this, I guess, old law or something, which has required it in, I believe, a number of years. They have had to move their date back because technically Ohio originally said you had to get your candidate in before the convention, but they actually passed a law this year, a fix, which I think they've done in past years too, to make it till after September, to make it till September 1st after the convention. So, because again, there's no guarantee from the primary process. You could have, 4 people get a quarter of the vote, a quarter of the delegates, then you'd have to go to the primary. So it just wouldn't make sense that states required the Democratic Party to have the candidate in before the convention happened, because they might not have a nominee by then. So just to clarify, I have not heard a single report anywhere suggesting that there's any kind of issue with Democrats getting their candidate in. And again, Joe Biden was not officially the candidate. Joe Biden had yet to be nominated. He was the presumptive nominee because he had gotten all the delegates in the primary, but those delegates actually hadn't voted for him yet. So they hadn't actually even chose their nominee yet officially, the Democratic Party. So I have not heard anything about that. Certainly, Ron, if I hear it, I will certainly let you know. But just to be clear, I've not heard anything like that. But thank you again, Ron, for modding and all of our other moderators. Let me shout out our moderators because they're so awesome. I really appreciate it. Ron Egnor over there on Facebook. And Margaret Riley, Charlotte Webb, and then on Twitch, Bash and Girl, Big Ball of Yarn, Good Luck Duck, I Got That Fire, McBritches, Sarah, Papa Bear, Surly Dev. Over on Facebook, sorry, I said Facebook. Over on YouTube, people like Ruth Krafasi, thank you, Ruth. All of our other moderators who've been over there. RJ, Linda Belk and Larry on X. Thank you, moderators. Gwen, our viewer, thinks that Dems were asked last week if we wanted VP Harris to replace President Biden. She won by a landslide. Thank you, Internet. So, I mean, now there wasn't like a primary, but I think Gwen maybe is saying that, look, people could have, there were polls and people could have also complained. And sounds like Gwen thought that she wasn't seeing this Democratic uproar saying people didn't want Harris, if I'm interpreting Gwen right. Thank you, Gwen, for writing in. And let me check something here. I was going to check one other thing. Now I can't remember what I was going to check. Oh, here. Trump had this comment on the speech. He said, Trump said that, hold on, I'll show you. His comment on the speech was on his Truth Social, crooked Joe Biden's Oval Office speech was barely understandable and so bad. So that was, I would say, probably the unsurprising take from Trump on the speech. Let's see. All right. Guys, I think we might be getting close to that time. We might be getting there. I sometimes like to look at the headlines. The headline on the New York Times right now is Biden says the idea of America lies in your hands. He says it is time to step aside for a fresh and younger voice. The headline in the Wall Street Journal says Biden says he will pass the torch to Harris. He said the defense of democracy, which is at stake, is more important than any title. Washington Post headline, Biden passes torch in somber speech. Fox News, Biden tells nation he will finish term. Fox says after Dems push him out of race. Hints at change to Supreme Court. Well, that was a very small part of the speech. There's been reporting that he wants to propose some kind of Supreme Court changes, but the reporting I've seen said he would need congressional approval for those, which he's not going to get because Democrats don't control Congress. At the start of their article, Fox News also mentions that quote of him saying, I decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. It's the best way to unite our nation. All right, I think it might be time, guys. I think it might be our time. I think we're going to wrap this up. All right, so we have done 3 streams today. And we will keep covering live news for you as the news happens. So I very much appreciate you guys joining our streams today. And I will post news updates on my X account as well. Yeah, some people mentioned a fire in Alberta, which I've posted a little about the last couple of days. I just need to get off the air and look into it. So I'll look into that after I get off the air. I'm not going to look into it right now. I just need to wrap up this stream. But I really appreciate you guys joining the stream. And thanks for letting me read not all of them, but letting me read your various comments and sending in comments and letting me hear your input. Thank you. Thanks to Lady Boss 365. I appreciate that. And our member Casey Promise. So again, we're going to have much more news coverage in the coming days. We'll be covering the campaign, obviously, but we'll be covering other news as it happens. Oh, thanks to also Wolflar on Twitch. Wolflar and Marie JKLOL on Twitch. Oh, I see. I fell behind on the Twitch thank yous. And Yay Matena. And 420 Prince. Oh, I knew I did something wrong. Meekyoy. Luke 1337M. I forgot to thank the Twitch people. So stupid. Sorry. Cool Trash Cat. Relila. Thank you. Game Hero 2. All right, I'm sorry, Twitch folks. Ann Carolyn 0113. My bad. I appreciate it. Let's shout out our moderator. Well, first of all, really quick, subscribe and follow this channel. We cover all kinds of live breaking news without an agenda. Agenda-free TV. Subscribe and follow, and sign up for our free notifications. We have a notification system. It works awesome. It's really reliable. You get a notification every time we go live, no matter what time. So sign up for the free notifications. We do it through Discord. The mods will post the notifications link in the chat. And it's in the Facebook and YouTube description for this video as well. But that way you won't miss a broadcast when we go live all of a sudden to cover some big breaking news. And a huge thanks to our moderators. They are so awesome. They are the ones that allow us to have chat rooms. They allow us to have chat rooms. We couldn't have the chats without them. They're awesome. RJ and Ruth Krafasi and all of our other YouTube moderators, big thanks. Linda Belk and Larry on X, on Facebook. Ronald Egnor, Kay Lowry, Body, Margaret Riley, Christina Neal, Paul Anderson, all of our other moderators there. And over on Twitch, people like Bastion Girl, Big Ball of Yarn, Good Luck Duck, Idaho Star, I Got That Fire, McBritches, Sarah, Papa Bear, and Surly Dev, and all of our other mods there. Thank you, moderators. Can't thank you enough. On all day today, the mods always there in the chat. Thank you so much. And hey, thanks to everybody who donated. That is so nice of you. I very much appreciate your support for the channel. You are the ones who let this channel exist and be on the air and be available full time to cover news. So that is thanks to you. Really appreciate all of your support of the channel. And if you ever want to donate, you can go to agendafree.tv, agendafree.tv. But big thanks. Sorry it took so long to thank some of the people on Twitch tonight. I fell behind a bit. And what else do I want to mention? Hey, thanks to our Discord mods. Huge thanks to you. If anybody wants to check out our Discord chat, where you can chat for free with other viewers when we're not on the air, a lot of our viewers like doing that. It's the same link as the notifications link to check out the Discord chat. And if anybody is interested in being a volunteer moderator, sometimes there's a wait list, but that would be awesome. You can ask our mods for more information on that. A quick reminder for those who watch on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube and you want to turn the YouTube notifications on, you got to click a bell. You got to click a bell. You got to click this bell on YouTube and then choose all notifications. That's how you get the YouTube notifications on. Did I mention that I'll post updates on my X account? I'll post news updates there. That's where I cover news when we're not on the air. At Lookner on X. You can follow there for breaking news updates. At Lookner. I'll post a link to that in the chat. Also, at Agenda Free TV, I sometimes post programming updates there. And I want to thank our Facebook subscribers. Thanks to all of our subscribers over there, like Eve Richards, Robert Rial II, Jane Summers, Lisa Perkins, Diane Allworth, Billy Joe Drage, Duster Singer, Kay Lowry Body, Leanne Ticknor, Margaret Riley. Huge thanks to all of our Facebook subscribers. Thank you. And our Twitch subscribers, like Shaggy in Wall Street, big thanks. Jax Haku, Agrajog TV, What Plants Crave, Sarah, Aaron Weirdo, Big Ball of Yarn, Rocky Coast, Rocksterity, Karcha in SD, and all of our other Twitch subscribers. Thanks for subscribing over there. And our YouTube members. Thank you so much for being members and supporting on YouTube. Evelyn in Maine, Beryl Kubler, Mythical, Crystal Waters, Buffalo Women, Lucky Minute, Wickedest Witch, Evelyn in Maine. I think I said Evelyn in Maine. Complex Pixel, Waltham, Raina Hood, Mary McHugh 2, Bill's Mafia, Todd N23, Barb, Cindy J, Jagged Glass, Theodore Johnson, Apex Strategist, Marge, Danette, Baymuse, Turnt Off, Walter Sheets, Don Lad Mulligan, Dee Hubbs, CAC 813, Christine McPherson, Mr. Look Again, Jessica S., The Lady Boss, and all of our other members over there, Joe Hart, UV Lightning, J. Marie, thank you. Charlie Fryman, thanks to all of our members. And everybody else watching, I appreciate you tuning in for our 3 streams today. Wow, a lot of news today. Paula Thompson as well, thanks for watching. 3 streams. Jeremiah Pearson, thanks for watching. All of our viewers. All right, we're wrapping it up, guys. We are wrapping this up. This has been our live coverage of Joe Biden's address to the nation from the Oval Office. More news to come. If you missed it, we played it twice, so you can rewind and you can watch it twice if you'd like. But you can definitely rewind and watch it on this broadcast. Just doing a quick news check here. Okay. All right. If there's other big stories, I'll come back on the air. But I got to get off the air and check more news. All right, guys. That is it. So again, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you tuning in. Really appreciate our moderators being here. And thanks to everybody who donated. Thanks for letting me read your comments. And that is it for now. Thanks for watching. We will see you soon with more live breaking news coverage right here at Agenda Free TV.